Current nutrition labels are based on outdated portions and eating habits in the U.S. from the 1970s and 80s. A lot has changed since then, including a national obesity epidemic. The FDA's proposed label changes are considered a consumer reality check that includes more realistic portion sizes, calories, and added sugar. Here to break down the changes and their importance is registered dietitian Katie Ferrara. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Katie, the Obama administration unveiled these changes or proposed changes to labels this week. Why change these labels now?
Well, as you mentioned, the label that we know and see on our packages is from 1993 and based on data from the 1970s and 1980s, so it's not really reflective of how we eat today.
Well, let's take a side-by-side look at the current proposed labels that are on the food packages now, and I want to show people here. On the left is the current labeling, and on the right is the proposed changes. What stands out most is how calories are displayed and how the more realistic the serving sizes are. How do these changes benefit consumers?
Well, you pointed out one of the easiest things to notice about the proposed label is the call out of the size of the calories. That should jump out at you in addition to how many portions are in a bag. Those are the things that matter, and as the food label exists now, sometimes people overlook that and really don't have a good idea of what they're actually eating.
In the serving size, we were talking about ice cream, and I've had people tell me this, like, who eats a half a cup of ice cream if you measure it out? So those are more reflective of realistic changes.
Yeah, some of the changes that were proposed, ice cream is a perfect example. It had been a half a cup of serving for ice cream, and the new label will reflect a more realistic serving, which is 1 cup. So this is a little bit of a happy medium, kind of somewhere between how much you should eat and how much you probably do eat is probably the right amount in there.
All right. Another significant change is the addition of added sugar on the contents label. Why is it important, and how come this change surprised you?
This is one that, as a registered dietitian and many healthcare professionals, we're really excited about, because for years you don't know if the sugars in the foods that you're eating are naturally occurring or if they're from added sugars. Take, for example, a sweetened yogurt. A fruited yogurt, if it has 20 grams of added sugar, that's the equivalent of 5 packs of sugar. You wouldn't walk into Starbucks and open up 5 packs of sugar and pour it in your yogurt, but that's what's in those foods. And now that added sugar line, that's going to allow us to see how much sugar is added and how much comes from natural things like milk and fruit.
Okay, the other label additions are vitamin D and potassium. Tell us why those are included now, because they weren't there before.
I'm really happy to see vitamin D and potassium added. Again, this new label reflects recent science, and recent research is indicating that a diet that's higher in potassium helps lower blood pressure, and of course vitamin D is important for optimal bone health.
So it's not about avoiding, in this case, it's about trying to get enough of these nutrients.
Yeah, and it's nice to see some healthy eat more messages. You know, you get tired of telling everyone what not to eat, so here's some nutrients we could all stand to eat a little bit more of.
Well, something I noticed that's missing is fat calories. The new label doesn't have fat calories. How come?
That's right. You probably noticed it. A lot of people will not miss the calories from fat line. Removing the calories from fat line, which health advocates have really asked for a long time, is a nod to the notion that the FDA is acknowledging more recent data that indicates it's the types of fat that we eat that matter a lot more than the total amount of fat we eat.
Which is traditionally a small amount on those food labels. Food companies have fought label changes in the past. How much is this change going to cost them, and are they on board with this change?
Well, the FDA is estimating that the changes to the food label based on their proposed rule will cost about $2 billion for the food industry to have to repackage and relabel all of their products. So the food manufacturers are being a little tight-lipped about their reactions right now. This is all very new. But you can see in the long run, you know, having to add things like added sugar, that's going to be a little bit eye-opening for consumers, and there probably will be some pushback.
And but they got something that people wanted. They got to keep the front of the packages the same.
Yeah, before these proposed rules came out, there was a lot of speculation what's going to change, what's not, and there was a little bit of buzz about maybe the FDA would rein in the front of package labeling, but that certainly didn't happen, and we still think of the front of package labeling kind of as a free-for-all.
And the advertising, certainly. We'll have to end on this. What happens next? We have a waiting period?
90 days for you to comment, or the public to comment, and then the proposed rule could take up to a year to become a final rule, and then manufacturers will have an additional 2 years to comply. So it could be 3 years till you actually see these new labels.
Absolutely changes. Registered dietitian Katie Ferrara, thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.